Hello and welcome back. This is our second part of our mid-season review. So if you haven't already, please go and tune in to the first part where we broke down the top 10 within the Premier League. So now we are going to move on to the second half of the table from 11th to 20th. And same as yesterday, boys. I just want to get your honest opinions on these teams. Owen, welcome back today.
Well, it's correct.
Very little.
Yeah, I was asleep because I decided to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning watching American football.
Well, that's fair enough. We can forgive you for that one.
Yeah, it was worth it for you anyway.
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
So we'll start with 11th in the table then. Aston Villa. Obviously, new manager's just come in, Unai Emery. He's really got off to a very, very flying start. Has won 5 games in charge of Aston Villa so far. So, Oren, I'll come to you first.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like I know was it the first episode, second episode of the Bottom Bins, you made the very bold prediction that Unai Emery wouldn't succeed at Aston Villa. And we had a good debate about that, about what success was for Villa.
Yeah.
Has your opinion wavered any since you've made that point?
No, look, my interpretation of the word success was to win a trophy with Aston Villa. And I just don't think Aston Villa are in a position to win trophies. And I don't think they are for the next few years unless they are financially backed. Obviously, they do have a lot of finances available to them. It's just whether they make the right signings. So no, my interpretation of success hasn't changed in that regard. However, Unai Emery has done wonders for this Aston Villa team. He's made them a real force to be reckoned with. Look, in recent years, you could expect to go to Villa Park and get 3 points, no problem. Whereas now, even with Villa coming to your home ground, you're kind of weary of playing Aston Villa because you never know what to expect. You could hammer them, or they could quite easily turn you over as well.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're playing well. He's getting the best out of their players. He signed some new players. He signed that young 19-year-old forward from the MLS. Paid big money for him, 25 million.
Yes.
So he could come in and do a job as well. Obviously to replace Danny Ings, who has went to West Ham and has got injured straight away. No, look, Aston Villa's always going to be a good team. They're always going to be a steady Eddie. I think very much at the start of the Premier League campaign under Steven Gerrard, there was a lot of questions to be asked, and rightfully so. I never thought Gerrard was a good manager, and this season really proved it, and I'm glad that Premier League fans got to see this. Obviously, I'd seen him in the Scottish League, watching Celtic with Owen for quite a bit, and keeping on top of Rangers occurrences as well with that. And I never thought Gerrard was overly a good manager, even though he did achieve a league trophy with Rangers. So it was kind of glad he was found out a wee bit, because I think this whole stigma of being an unbelievable footballer automatically makes you a great manager. Yeah. I think that needs to change, because it's not
false.
It's completely false. But yeah, Unai Emery's come in, he steadied the ship, because very much under Steven Gerrard it looked like Villa could have went down, especially if they had stuck with Steven Gerrard. There was a great chance of Villa being in the proper bottom half of the table, rather than sitting middling in the table. So yeah, kudos to the Villa board for making that decision. And look, Unai Emery is a world class manager. He probably had a lot of offers on the table apart from Aston Villa, but he decided to go to them. He obviously liked their project, and look, he'll do a good job anywhere he goes. So yeah, Aston Villa, I can't see them going any further than maybe 10th, 9th, 8th. But they're definitely not going to drop all the way back down the table like they were at the start of the season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I think that's totally fair enough, Owen. Connor, obviously, look, that change in management, it's really sort of kicked Aston Villa's season onwards. They maybe haven't been as active in the January transfer market as a lot of their fans would have hoped, probably. Yeah. But look, simple question, really. What's the expectation for Aston Villa for the rest of this season, do you think?
Well, this season, I think they're only 3 points off 6th. So they'll probably be thinking maybe Europe could be a possibility, 7th maybe. But from where they were at, when Emery came in, they were just above the relegation zone on goal difference. Mm-hmm. And he's won 5, drawn 1 and lost 1. So it's just incredible the change he's made. And he's just made players play better. Even like players like John McGinn, who was so poor under Steven Gerrard, has just improved greatly. The guy Kamara and
Kamara.
Douglas Luiz. Like their midfield has improved so much. Yeah. I remember the Tottenham game, they just overran. I know Tottenham only played the two in midfield, but they just overran them. They were just all over the shop. Tottenham that day, but still. But with Villa, yeah, the expectation will be probably next season under Emery maybe to win a trophy. I know they got beaten in the FA Cup in the third round to Stevenage, which was embarrassing.
It's not great.
Yeah, he probably wanted a good run in the cup because he's kind of known as a cup manager in a way, isn't he? So I think this season it would just top 10, and then next season put a bit of money in. And Villa is a big club and the very rich owner, so you'd be thinking a trophy maybe, or
at least
top 8, top 6
European spots,
Europa League maybe. Yeah. But with Villa, like from where they were at under Gerrard, where it was just a disaster. Again, I didn't think he was a great manager either. Apparently, even at Rangers, he wasn't even the brains behind the operation.
No, he wasn't.
You're seeing that with your boy came into our Rangers there, and he's been good, and he was a QPR.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gerrard was a disaster, and it was a good decision to sack him. I think it was an easy decision in the end because they were going nowhere.
Yeah. No, agreed. And I'm glad you talked about players like Camara there. Obviously, probably was one of Europe's most wanted prospects. Camara. It's Boubacar is his first name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Boubacar Camara.
Boubacar Camara.
Yeah. He obviously one of those hot prospects in Europe that everybody wanted, and it was sort of a massive coup whenever Villa signed him, and didn't perform at the start under Gerrard, but very much looks a different player now. Is that just automatically the differences you can see in the quality of manager?
Yeah, look, and the boys mentioned that I always thought Gerrard was a poor manager. He won one league title in Scotland, so he won one trophy out of a possible 9 attempts. He won it in the worst season Celtic's had, probably in my lifetime, where everything collapsed at Celtic.
Yeah.
They lost the 2 cups to St Johnstone. So that was all he did in Scotland, win one trophy out of a possible 9. Then we got the big move to Villa because of his name, really. Mm-hmm. And he kind of jumped a sinking ship from Rangers, because we've seen what happened with Rangers in the league. I know they got the Europa League final last year, but he jumped a sinking ship, and Rangers fell apart in the league last year and are still well off the pace this year.
Yeah.
But look, at Emery, as we know, is a fantastic manager. He's been at big clubs. Like, he's managed PSG, he's managed Arsenal. He's won the more Europa League titles than any man.
Yeah.
Like, he is a great, fantastic manager, set up to run the cup. I know they got beat by Stevenage this year, but he's only been in the door 2 months. You've seen the turnaround Villa have had since he came in. This first day in the door, he beat Manchester United. He's only lost one Premier League game since.
Did you hear him? To bring that one up. Yeah.
He's only lost one Premier League game since he's come in charge of Villa. Mm-hmm. He's completely steadied the ship, as Villa said. As Connor said, they're only 3 points off 6. I don't think that will be competing for European football come the end of the year, but there will be, from now on, they're just going to have a steady year where they kind of bounce between the kind of the 12th to 8th zone, where they're not pulling up any trees, but they're no trouble. They can afford to think next year. As you know, Villa is a big club, and they still have pull, and they'll want to be like looking at maybe like the Newcastle type model, where they invest in younger players to improve their squad, proven players, and build a squad for the future rather than building a squad for this year.
Yeah.
So next year, following years under Emery, Villa will be challenging for those European spots, and they will be the type of team who will go on a League Cup run or an FA Cup run. And I think the future is quite bright for Villa. They had a rough start to the season, but ever since Emery's come in, it's been plain sailing really for them. So I think it's kind of need to look more to next year for any as or defined success. But I think there is the possibility of success there in the future.
No, completely agreed. The Newcastle model is a model I think Villa should also try and implement. And with a manager that is the quality of Unai Emery, alongside the mass finance that they do have, the future does look very bright for Aston Villa, and it wouldn't surprise me if they are the next Newcastle type football club, and we do see them in regular European competition from next season onwards. Now, I know that's easier said than done, and obviously it takes a lot of pieces to be put in the right place for that to happen, but like honestly, I really do rate Emery that highly. I think there is no reason why Emery couldn't take Villa to the Europa League every year and possibly push a Champions League place. I don't see why not, to be honest.
Especially with the quality in the Premier League now at the minute.
Exactly.
It's definitely not out of the realms of possibility.
And teams are just consistently getting stronger. It's like we were saying there yesterday, you know, like you go from Brighton, Fulham, Brentford, Liverpool, Chelsea, Villa. See, any of those sides there, can beat each other. Any of those sides there could beat some of the boys that are above them as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not without the realms of possibility. Aside from Liverpool and Chelsea, obviously, of course, they couldn't beat fucking snow off a rope. But
But it's the belief as well. Ted Lasso will love that one. It's all about the belief. Like, they all think they can genuinely beat any team in the league.
and there's no reason why they shouldn't.
Exactly.
But like the way Newcastle, Brighton, and Fulham are going this year, that gives those teams belief that they're like, sure, we're as good a club as Brighton. We have as good players. We have bigger finances. Why aren't we up that end of the
Up
table?
the beat, yeah.
So that's what's giving these teams inspiration and belief to go forward, because the Premier League is getting more and more competitive. Look, for years I've said, the Premier League's best league in the world. It kind of looked to be sliding the last couple of years when it was like, all right, who between City and Liverpool is going to win the title this year? But now this season is showing that competitiveness is back in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like, look, you're kind of looking maybe now with United faltering a wee bit the last 2 games, it's a 2-horse race. But 3 weeks ago we were talking about a 3-horse race for title race.
Yeah.
So like that just shows how competitive the Premier League is, and teams like Villa and those are going to have massive says in title races.
Yeah.
And themselves are going to be competing for European football.
Exactly. Completely agreed. Well, moving it on then to 12th place anyway, we have Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace. Been a bit of a middling season for Palace, really. You know, they started so well, they died off, then they really, really died off. But now they've started picking up results again and they look a little bit better. But I'm just going to come out and say it. I know a lot of people give Vieira credit for the job that he's done at Palace. And look, by no means am I discrediting that, but I don't think it's going as swimmingly as what they would have hoped, to be completely honest. Yeah. And it wouldn't shock me if he sees the door at some stage in the near future. Like, take it this season. So they've played 20 games, 6 wins, 6 draws, 8 defeats. They're sitting on a negative 9 goal difference. At this point last season, in the same table, they were sitting on a -2 goal difference. So they're shipping more goals already this year. To me, it's just looking like a bit of a downward trend at the minute. Or what's your take on Palace then?
Palace are just one of them teams. I don't think Vieira's doing an overly good job. I don't think he's doing a bad job by any means, but I don't see Crystal Palace getting any higher in the table or any lower. I don't think Palace are one of them teams that's going to be fighting relegation every year. They always seem to start off either really well or really bad, but they always bring it back towards the end of the season and they always do end up in the middle of the table. So I don't think necessarily that even if they did get rid of Patrick Vieira, I wouldn't be getting rid of Patrick Vieira personally, because I don't think anybody's going to come in and push them further up the table than Patrick Vieira has done. But it's hard to talk about Palace because Palace, they're liable to go out and get a good result, like they did against United the other day. They're liable to go and beat Manchester City. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're liable to get a result like that, but they're also liable to get beat by
Nottingham
Southampton
Forest or someone.
Nottingham Forest or someone like that. They're someone at the bottom of the table. Like, they're fully. It's hard to tell with Crystal Palace, but they are always one of them teams who's going to be middle of the table, especially in recent years. Anyway, they're not going to be fighting relegation every year. So, yeah, Palace is just. It's just one of them teams that you expect to be in the middle of the table. I would say if we all done a prediction at the start of the year, if we had the podcast from the very first game week of the Premier League, I would say the majority of us, if not all of us, would have Palace in and around 11th, 12th, 13th, rather than in the relegation zone.
In the relegation zone. See, that's the thing, Oren. I just can't work out if Vieira is a good manager or not. Like, I genuinely don't know if he is. And look, maybe I just haven't watched enough of Crystal Palace, but I feel like I've seen enough of them to make some sort of informed decision. But I just can't work out if he's a good manager or not. Because at times Palace play beautiful football, but then there's other times where they're the complete opposite of that, and they're dogged and they're rugged. And I don't know if that's him trying to implement some sort of style of football or whether that's just the players doing their own thing. I don't know.
Well, teams go through that. Every team's going to go through a rugged run of form and stuff as well. But what I do see from Palace under Vieira, they seem to be a much more disciplined team now than they were. He seems to have instilled some sort of mentality in them that can bring out a bit of fire in them and a bit of dog in them, if so to speak. Like even against United the other day, or the other week, sorry. After the second half, Palace looked like they should have beat United. They were the better team, 100%. And at the end, if it wasn't for the heroics of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, someone who played for Crystal Palace and knew Wilfred Zaha so well, it could have been a different result for Man United, and it could have been different. We could have been talking about a very different period under Eric Ten Hag, because results might have dipped after that. There, you never know. Look, Patrick Vieira, he managed in France and he's managed in America before coming to the Premier League. So he has got a wee bit of experience. This is his first real top flight, top club experience, and it's in the biggest league in the world. And I think so far he's doing a good job.
Yeah, no, look, that's totally fair enough, lad. Again, I was just sort of looking at it more from a tactical viewpoint, if you know what I mean, and I just wasn't sure what type of a team Crystal Palace were. I didn't really know how to describe them. Connor, look, Palace do have some phenomenal players, and that's exactly what they are. They have some of the brightest talents in English football. Eze, obviously, real standout performer. Mark Guehi at the back.
Good back, yeah.
Filter in as well, star player Wilfred Zaha, who has been a Premier League mainstay for a long time now, and then filter in the young French talent Michael Olise. And some excellent acquisitions in the summer. Doucouré in centre midfield has been fantastic. Joaquin Anderson at the back alongside Guehi. I know Mitchell has been a wee bit off the boil this year, but you would still say Mitchell is such an exciting young prospect in there. So Palace do have a lot to look forward to and over the next few years, don't they?
Yeah, I would agree with you as well about Palace. I just think they're a bit of a boring team, to be honest. They don't score many goals. They don't really ship many goals. They have got exciting players, of course. Zaha has like 33% of their goals, and he is still a top player. But I just find them, even against United, I thought they were very compact, organised. But I remember a stat, there was like, I think the first 3 games that came back, they didn't even have a shot on target. So it's just like, maybe Vieira's just like at. I do think he has brought that discipline. There's no doubt about that, because you rarely see them get anybody sent off, and very little mistakes. And I think Anderson at the back has been superb this season. He has been a great player, and I thought a big team might have went in for him because he's so good on the ball as well, even coming out of defence. You got players like Will Hughes and players like that who are hard workers as well. Obviously, they got top talent, young talent, but they have got better results. Obviously, they drew in Newcastle as well, which is a great result. Their goalkeeper's been very good this season. But I just find Palace very boring, to be honest. But I haven't really seen them that much this season either. They don't score many goals, but they're going to stay in the Premier League, and they're going to come 12th, 13th. But will Palace look to Vieira and think maybe we want better football or a more attacking manager, especially with that young talent? Because some of them players might think, I'm not getting the chances I deserve.
I should be getting.
Yeah, if I was playing for a better team, a more expansive team. So we'll just have to wait and see. But for Palace, it's just been an okay season, and with Palace, it just seems to be every season, even under Roy Hodgson, just seems to be that's their limit, really.
But would you say that's recruitment based? Like, obviously you look at their forwards, they've the likes of Jordan Ayew and Hudson Edouard,
really struggling for
and
goals.
Matata.
Yeah.
Like, they're not.
They're
not world beaters.
1 goal this season, which is not good enough.
They're not world beaters, so they would need
Edward has 2 goals.
2 goals, so they would need a striker in,
Definitely.
and then
the team runs through Zaha, and the problem is he's away in the summer. So
and
what
that's
are they
what's
going to do?
difficult.
What are they going to do when he goes? Because he has 6 goals this season and 2 assists, and they only have 18 goals. So he's almost
That's what's
half
difficult about
of the
this
goals he's
season,
involved in.
because last season they had Conor Gallagher to take that burden off Zaha,
Good
and he
player.
played phenomenal for Palace last season.
Well, he played phenomenal for 6 months.
Well, he's been a shell of himself since going to Chelsea, no matter what. It was so vital for Palace last season. So do you think recruitment's
Recruitment's going to be
is
vital.
going to be hard for Vieira?
It is going to be hard. They're obviously like they're London, obviously, so it's easier in that way to recruit players. They've recruited really well, young players, but will Palace become a selling side is the question, because when they lose Zaha, I think they're in big trouble next season, because he is basically keeping them afloat. And he has for years. He really has. He's been their best player, and he deserves a bigger move. I know he's a bit older now, but there'll be teams looking at him in the summer.
The thing about Palace is, like, they're renowned, like, they're world renowned for their support. Selhurst Park is one of the loudest grounds that you'll probably ever come across. They obviously have that section of the stadium that's safe standing, and they sing for 90 minutes, like, and it's bouncing. Like, you play Crystal Palace and you hear it on the TV, like, it's like an Argentinian atmosphere or like a Brazilian atmosphere. It's like, that's like South American football. It's just a pity the football on the pitch doesn't reflect the
They're so
atmosphere within the stadium.
You're right, though. They're so tough to beat at Palace. Like we've seen it even against United. It looked like we've got the 3 points there, and they just got to go last second.
Yeah.
Newcastle drop points. Obviously, City somehow struggle with them every year. So that aspect of it, that is keeping them in the league as well. That support,
Yeah.
big time.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Owen, realistically, what's the best that Crystal Palace can achieve?
The best Crystal Palace can achieve is where they are at the minute, really.
Yeah.
Like, they are the definition of mid-tier Premier League team. Like, like, you know what I mean? Every year, it's the same story with Palace. You're like, oh my God, they beat City. Oh, they beat Arsenal. They lost to Plymouth Argyle or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're just so mid. Like, I was looking at the results there. See, since the World Cup, they've won once. Like, in fairness, they have had tough enough fixtures. Like, they've played United and Chelsea and Newcastle and Fulham, teams that are in form, but
Yeah.
there still is one win in about 8 games isn't
It's not
exactly
Yeah.
what you're looking for, and VR might be under a wee bit of pressure in that regard.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't see, when it comes to, like, if they got rid of VR, I don't really see the point in it, because nobody's going to come in and do any better of that Palace side, really. They do have some good players, the likes of Eze and Olise and the likes, but as just alluded to there, they really are struggling up front. Like, but they do rely massively on Zaha. Is that a wee bit of maybe Zaha's ego in the change rooms? Because we know how much Zaha wants to be away from that club. Nearly every single summer you hear stories of...
Do you think they'd be better without Zaha, though? Could you see it that maybe freeing up?
I could
You
see
know.
that a wee bit, that they don't have to go everything through Zaha.
Yeah.
They can get other players, the likes of Matata and Edouard, more involved in the play. Look, I seen a lot of Edouard when he was at Celtic, and that's what he was really good at. Was he wasn't the type of striker who wanted necessarily would get in the box and wanted crosser. He wanted to be involved in the play. He wanted to take men on. He wanted to lay it off, quite click 1-2s around the box. But I need to get that sense that Palace, if you lay it off to Zaha, Zaha's going to have to take his man on. If you want to get the ball back, you won't have to wait for Zaha to try and beat the full back.
Yeah.
Look, it's been so well documented over the years how much Wilfred Zaha every single year is like, oh, I'm going to Arsenal. Oh, I'm going somewhere. I'm going here. I'm going there.
Yeah.
But it obviously hasn't materialised for whatever reason. Obviously, Palace asking crazy money for him. And, like, look at what is Zaha's...
He's 30 now.
30.
He's
31, yeah.
31 now. Like, he's probably not going to get that big move now.
No.
He probably will be away in the summer. He probably will run the contract out and
Yeah.
just get out, blow dodge, really. But I think he's missed his window of opportunity, and that probably frustrates him a lot. Not for Palace as
Yeah.
well. But look at Palace, as he said, they'll be safe. They're not going to pull up any trees. They've been in the Premier League now, what, like 78 years, whatever. And
Yeah, a long time.
like every year, it's the same sort of scenario. Either get off to a really good start, finish well, avoid relegation. They're never in the big relegation scrap. You're never looking at the table come March or April and go, just Palace is in trouble. They're always just Midland. Like,
Yeah. No,
I do think if Zaha's not there this season, they would be in the bottom 3. Because he is involved in 50% of their goals. I know your theory, like, maybe too big in the club, big ego, but I think he's vital, and I think he's their best player, and he steps up for them in big moments. So I do think if they lose him, unless I think they're going to find it hard to get players in that are, like, it could take 2 or 3 players to get that kind of goal contribution back.
Yeah.
I think it's easy said, if they lose him, they could be okay. I think it could spell trouble, especially if the young players don't step up next season.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. On to 13th then, lads. A team that we have, well, to be quite honest, we give quite a bit of stick to on a few episodes, but they're on a good run of wins. Looking like a Premier League side, I think, is the way you can describe it, because those first sort of few weeks, they did look like a side that was just up from the Championship, didn't they, Oren? And they were still trying to sort of figure out, oh, right, this is what the Premier League is. There is a big jumping gap here. But now those transfers are all starting to gel. I'll talk about one player in particular, and I know you're probably itching to get speaking about him, because we watched him the other night against Man United, and he was absolutely excellent. But he has been excellent from he has started playing games for Forest and revolutionised the way that they want to play football. Gustavo Scarpa. Really, really top talent, isn't he? This is one transfer that looks like it's not going to miss.
Yeah, he was phenomenal against Manchester United. Whenever I first seen him come onto the team sheet, I was like, Jesus, he sounds like a disease. But,
You can call them leprosy.
but yeah, no, he was absolutely phenomenal. I knew as soon as I seen that curly hair and headband,
You knew you're in trouble.
when
lad.
you see that on a footballer, that's a man with confidence.
Yeah,
And
that's a pro clubs player.
that's a pro
Yeah.
clubs player. Yeah, no, he was absolutely phenomenal. He ran the midfield. As soon as the team sheet came out, me and you were speaking, Connor, and I'm pretty sure I said Danilo and Scarpa are going to overrun United's midfield, which is mad considering the midfield that we had out against Forest.
Yeah,
But it just had an inkling feeling. Look, Danilo didn't play his best game. He didn't play badly, but he didn't play his best game. But even though Forest lost 3-0, Scarpa was unbelievable.
he was it's weird because they were beat 3-0, but he was arguably the best player on the pitch.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal.
You know, which
His long passing, his crossing, even his shot from
His shot
outside
was good,
outside the box
Yeah.
on the volley from the corner. Everything he just touched seemed he didn't miss hit a ball, which is crazy. Like, I know that seems so easy, like, not to do when you're a professional footballer, but he didn't miss hit one ball. Like, he just played phenomenally. Look, they're 13th on the table, and they have signed a couple of players now in this window. I would still be very wary of Nottingham Forest, to tell you the truth. I don't think they're going to go down, personally, but I'm not putting that out of the realms of possibility. I'm glad the transfers are starting to gel. Obviously, Gibbs White looking like an absolute demon in
Baller,
midfield,
yeah.
to tell you the truth.
even young Brennan Johnson is beginning to look like a Premier League player.
I was
Finally.
gonna say,
Yeah,
even
as
against
well.
United, he was dangerous.
He's beginning to
It's
find
just his finishing.
ball
It's
in
just
the
his
net.
finishing.
Yeah.
If he could finish,
Exactly.
Yeah.
different.
His decision making in the final third wasn't 100% either. Like, there was a time where Scarpa was running in at the back post,
Yeah.
and Brandon Johnson should have played the
Squared
ball
it.
across,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it would have been a goal back for Forest. But he took the shot on himself, and look, that's just experience as well. He's a young kid, and he's seen his dad in the crowd, and he was probably looking to get a goal in front of his dad.
None of us knew who was that.
I know. Apparently, he's a Forest legend, but I hadn't a clue who he was. Look, they're not completely safe yet. I think it would be too early to say that yet, just because there is half a season to go. But they're definitely becoming that Premier League side that we knew they would become. It was obviously going to be tough when they signed literally 2 full 11s and then some of players. But they're starting to gel. Steve Cooper's obviously a great manager. They wouldn't have signed him on an extra 5-year deal earlier on in the season if they didn't trust him.
Especially at the time when
Yeah, he was under serious
When there
pressure.
it was serious pressure. It looked like he was going to be sacked probably, and then the next day it was announced that he had signed a new deal, which is brilliant from the board as well, sticking with that manager who did bring them the most success that they've had in recent times.
Look,
Yeah.
we all rated it here. We all said we were glad to see something like that happen because it's too easy to just pull the trigger on a
Exactly.
manager
Yeah.
and
We know the Premier League now is a results business. A few results that don't go your way,
yeah,
you get the boot.
yeah.
And that's just the reality of the Premier League these days.
It's very, very, very high pressure working conditions, realistically, for
Absolutely.
managers. Like,
Absolutely, and that's only harder for teams and managers coming up from the Championship, especially with the quality of the Premier League this season, like with the likes of Brighton and Fulham in the top 10 teams of the league. Like
There's no easy games.
no, absolutely not. I would say at the start of the season, Forest were probably looking at the likes of Fulham and Brighton and Villa, thinking we could realistically get 3 points against these teams. Because, as we said last week when we were talking about Wolves and Nottingham Forest and teams like that their season's not going to be defined on getting beat by Manchester City or getting beat by Arsenal or getting beat by Manchester United or whatever. But yeah, a middle of the road club at the minute. Hopefully they push on, because I do like Nottingham Forest. Obviously a club with huge history, one of the biggest clubs in English history.
Yep.
So long may their good form continue, and I hope to see more of them in the Premier League in the coming years.
yeah, that 100%, lad, 100%. Connor, look, obviously, as Oren mentioned there, Nottingham Forest are a massive, massive fixture in English football.
Yeah.
2 European Cups managed by, again, arguably I don't want to say the best because I think Fergie's the best. But
One of the best.
One of
the
the
greatest
greatest.
English manager of all time.
yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes, managed by ultimately the greatest English manager of all time in Sir Brian Clough. Look, where do they go? What's the natural progression for Forest here? Would they bite your hand off to finish 13th in the league?
Definitely, 100%. I think I had them down. I thought they were gone. They just couldn't gel as a team, and they made so many signings. But Cooper deserves so much respect because like they stuck by him. I think he got the deal after a loss as well. Like so,
Yeah.
it just shows they believe in him, and they've improved in midfield, especially as you said, Scarpa or whatever, and Danilo and Gibbs White have just transformed that midfield. Obviously, your boy Johnson up top, he's been superb as well. He's like 4 goals, few assists. He could actually score more. I seen his like goal expectancy was higher because he makes good runs, but he just can't finish. But with Nottingham Forest, the history they have, it is good to see them back in the Premier League, and I do hope they stay in the Premier League. Even though I thought they were down, to be honest, because
Yeah.
they were struggling. They've 2 wins, two draws and a loss, I think, in their last 5. So it has been a good run of form. The only thing is, they're 4 points above the relegation zone. Everton's got the new manager in. I still think there's a chance it could go down, but they're playing good football, and at the minute, I think 13th would be an unbelievable achievement.
Yeah, agreed. Owen, obviously we'll cover this more in our transfer episode this week, but it looks like some massive deals could be done on deadline day here for Forest. Felipe from Atletico Madrid, who's definitely going to make them stronger.
Yeah, no doubt.
John Joe Shelby's going to come in from Newcastle, who definitely makes them stronger.
Yeah.
And still, even though a slight possibility, still a chance that Keylor Navas comes through the door as well.
Mad.
Look, let's say they land those 3 players. They're massive coups for Forest, like, aren't
Oh, massive coups. Like, obviously, the big ones jump out of there. Keylor Navas and Felipe, 2 players who played at the top level of football in Europe. But I think John Joe Shelby would be a fantastic signing for them. He's a man who's been there. He's been around these scraps at the bottom of the Premier League.
Yeah.
He's experienced in the Premier League. He knows how English football works. So I think that would be a great signing for a team like Forest. Look, we thought Forest was dead and buried, but they've come back from the dead. They're like, maybe all night we went out in Belfast. Yeah, it was
right.
gonzo.
He was singing Fairy Tale in New York to a wall for about half an hour.
I'll tell you one
Class.
thing, that wall appreciated the music.
You're right, it did, lad.
And they've just come back from the dead, and they're punching well above their weight, and they're playing great football. The only concern I have for Forest is their finishing. When we were watching that League Cup semi-final, like I said to you, the difference between these two teams is United, when they get the chance to put the ball in the net, and Forest couldn't do it. That's what concerns me a wee bit, is the goal scoring aspect. Look, at Johnson is getting in the right positions, and it will come. But when you're at the relegation scrap, you need it to come, and you need to come now,
yeah.
and you need to start firing. But I do think Forest, the players they have, the players they might bring in, the football they're playing at the minute, I do think they have enough to stay up. And they're in great form. The only team who seems to have a kryptonite on them is United at the minute.
Yeah.
They always seem to beat them 3-0. They've played 6 games or whatever it is since the World Cup break, and United's beat them twice 3-0. But no, I really like what's going on in Forest. I think at the start of the year they made so many transfers, it was always going to start poorly, and maybe some people, us included, pulled the trigger on them a wee bit earlier and wrote them off a wee bit early. But ever since these players seem to be gelling, it seems to be going fantastic for them at the minute. They're picking up results. They're a poor enough draw with Bournemouth, a game they probably should have won. But then they're also drawing with teams like Chelsea. They're beating teams that they probably shouldn't be beating. So I think it's looking bright for Forest. They're not out of the woods yet. They're far from out of the woods yet. But they can see a path out of the woods. And if they keep up this form, they probably will finish a quite comfortable 14th, 15th area of the table.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair enough. Again, I really like being able to speak about like a club like Forest. You know, it's nice to sort of have one of those big fixtures back in the Premier League, and it's nice to be able to talk about a club like Forest and talk about them in a positive light. So look, I agree with you, Warren. Long may it continue, and I hope to see Nottingham Forest in the Premier League for many years to come. Moving on to 14th then, Owen, we have your old boss. Looks like he might get the sack.
Oh no.
Leicester, Oren, disastrous this year, hasn't it? Like, really, no real spending in the summer, no real spending in January because they can't. They're sort of locked behind FFP. for a side who had pushed Champions League places, pushed European spots, have played in European competition over the last few years, and just generally been one of the more exciting teams in the Premier League, are you sad to see this day come for Leicester, or was it always sort of inevitable to happen?
I think it was inevitable to happen. I see a lot of similarities in what's happening at Liverpool and what's happening at Leicester now. This Leicester team hasn't changed much since they won the Premier League, but more importantly, since they won the FA Cup. They won the FA Cup 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And there isn't a huge pile of difference in the entire squad of that Leicester squad in comparison to now. And it's very much like Liverpool, where they just haven't reinvested wisely and in youth prospects to help them progress for years to come. Like, you're still stuck with the likes of Jamie Vardy. Don't get me wrong, Jamie Vardy is one of the best goal scorers the Premier League's seen in recent times, but he's long in the tooth now. Like, he's not even getting a game.
No.
But he's still there, probably on high wages, because he signed a big deal after his move to Arsenal collapsed, after they won the Premier League. No, look, this was due to happen for Leicester. Anybody could have seen this happening. When you don't reinvest in the squad wisely, it's obviously going to happen. And as I said, yeah, we're seeing it with Liverpool in their midfield transitions. We're seeing it now with Leicester. Leicester would be... Look, they can't sack Brendan Rodgers because they don't have the finances to do so. But they're going to take this season no matter what. It doesn't look like they're going to get relegated. They have enough to not get relegated, so they shouldn't get relegated. They shouldn't even be in a scrap for relegation. But it'll be interesting these next few weeks, especially like with Harvey Barnes. He's scored a couple of goals now in recent times, so he might kick on a bit now. James Maddison's going to be crucial for them. I think he could even push Leicester a wee bit more up the table because he's going to be looking for that big summer move. I think it's inevitable that James Maddison leaves Leicester in the summer. It looks like Newcastle, and if it is Newcastle, well, no matter what, it's going to be a huge fee that Leicester's going to demand. And I would say James Maddison's going to try and get as many shooters as possible so he has his options open. Because there's no reason why Maddison couldn't even play for the likes of City or the likes of even across the water, someone like Bayern Munich or someone like that there. He's that good. So you never know. He could push Leicester on a wee bit with his performances, but otherwise they're middle of the roadside.
No, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Connor, Leicester currently sitting on 18 points. It's
bad.
Doesn't really make for good reading, like, does it? They have a -7 goal difference. You know, they've only 5 wins this entire season, which, like, just again, like Oren said, you know, they won the FA Cup 2 years ago. They qualified for Europe 2 years ago. They qualified for Europe last year.
Came back-to-back years, fifth, I think.
Back-to-back.
Threw away Champions League
Yeah, they
football.
should have been in
2 years
Champions
in a
League a
row.
few times. Yeah.
Exactly. So, look, what's the situation at Leicester? Is it an ownership fault? Is it fault on the manager? Or who really takes the blame for a situation like this?
I do think Rodgers is getting a bit of a bad deal at the minute, to be honest, because he hasn't got the money to recruit. He said, I need players that are quick and have skill, basically, because he doesn't really have that. He has players like, you know, Iheanacho, like Albrighton's still in the squad, Vardy. It's just not good enough. They're still at the back as well. I think they're really missing Johnny Evans. I think his leadership especially, he is getting a bit older. I've seen they're actually in for the guys played for Australia in the World Cup. By from Stoke. Suter, is it?
Yes.
15 million. So
I can't remember
that
his
could
name.
be a huge signing for them.
Yeah.
But with Leicester, they've won. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They've drawn 1. They're only a point outside the relegation zone. It is not looking good for them. Maddison is going to be key because before the World Cup, he had like 7 goals, 4 assists in 14 games, and he was superb. And I think I agree with Oren. He could play for any big side in Europe, really, to be honest. And he will be away in the summer.
Yeah.
So they really need to stay up because if they get relegated, he could go for nothing, really.
Yeah.
To be honest, but with Leicester, it is going to take recruitment. I think if they could stay up this season and then with Rodgers next year, give him a bit of money. Obviously, they can't sack him anyway because of the financial problems at the minute. But Barnes has been okay, 7 goals. But I think we were talking about it the other week as well. Like, players like Daka, Iheanacho just haven't.
They're just not
Just
good
haven't
enough,
stepped
aren't
up.
they not? No.
You know, they're not good enough. And Vardy has been a superb player for Leicester, legend, Premier League winner, but his time is up. And players like him and Albright and stuff like that are just not going to get it done. And at the back, they definitely need a centre back, and that's what they're trying to
Yeah.
do. So I do think Leicester will stay up, and I do think it's down to the owners, to be honest, not giving them the funds.
Aye,
Like they were
finances.
an FA Cup winning side 2 years ago, and now for them to be in this position, they were nearly in the Champions League twice
Yeah.
in a row. They really should have been in the Champions League. So I think that they do need to give Rodgers more time. I think he's a bit of a scapegoat, to be honest. It's easy just to blame the manager, but we'll see what Owen has to say about that. But I think if Leicester can stay up,
It'd be a big achievement.
it'll be a
for
big
him.
achievement for them.
Yeah, agreed. Owen, I don't even know what question to ask you. I'm trying to think of a way to word this, but do you know what? I'll just let you talk. I'll let you talk. Just tell me about Leicester in your own opinion.
In my opinion, I think my bold prediction is Leicester's going to get relegated.
Oh, really?
I honestly do think they will get relegated. Look, at Leicester were the worst team in the league at the start of the Premier League. The first 10 games, I think they won like 2 of them or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
They got a wee bit of upturn in form just for the World Cup, which might save them those points they picked up just for the World Cup, because since the World Cup, they've been horrific. They've been horrible. The only point they picked up is a draw against Brighton. Good enough result, fair play. You were 2-1 up with a minute to go.
Yeah.
Like, you threw 3 crucial points away.
Mm-hmm.
They're not recruiting. The team is stale. Albrighton, Ian Nacho, these aren't players that are going to score goals in the Premier League on a consistent enough basis to keep you up in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Look, at as much as I dislike him, I know Brendan Rodgers is a great manager, and I do think he's been given a pretty raw deal with Leicester in terms of no money being given to him at all. Like, they made no signings. They make look nothing like they're going to make signings. This just has the hallmarks of a team in big trouble.
Yeah.
Look, they do have the ability to go on a run that could save them, but just with the way they've been going this season, I don't see them doing that. I don't see where the form's going to uptick, because it's just been a downward spiral the entire time. Like, if it wasn't for those 2 or 3 games for the World Cup where they did improve, they would be sitting in the relegation zone. And like, for a team that was a kick of the ball away from Champions League football, over the last 2 years they should have been in Champions League football. They threw it away twice. Like, United came and beat them, was it 3-1 or 3-0 or something in the King Power?
Yeah.
Like, that was a game Leicester, they needed a point to get
Jay
in Champions
Lings.
League. Jay Lings. Like, and that wasn't a great United side, even
No,
using to admit.
no.
Like, Leicester had to be getting in the Champions League that season, and they threw it away. And I think that's kind of taken a toll on them. As you said, the squad hasn't been refreshed. It's the same squad that was at the FA Cup. They don't have really any young stalwarts. Anytime they do get a young, decent player, they're shipped off. Like, and then sometimes you just fall out of form, like Seonchu. What's happened to him?
Yeah, he's been terrible.
Like-
He's away in the summer. He's
like-
away to
but like-
Atletico, I think.
Atletico, I
But
think,
like
yeah.
a couple of years ago, like, he was the best centre back in the Premier League. There's huge fees being taunted about him that United were and Arsenal and City and all were going to go in for this lad, and then nothing materialised, and he's just fallen off the bus completely. Like, I think Leicester are in big trouble, and I like Leicester as a club, but it would bring a small smile to my face to see Brendan Rodgers get relegated.
Yeah, look, it's again very just a strange situation there over at Leicester. They've been struggling all season and can't really seem to put a consistent run of form together. Look, obviously, it's always hard when you've got boys on with 6 months left on their contract, and these are your star players, and they don't really look like they want to be there. And you know, you're sort of being forced to play them because you still need that quality to get you through games. So I do feel sorry for Brendan Rodgers, to be honest. I think it's a really poor situation he finds himself in, and I think if I was Brendan Rodgers, and you know, I think out of loyalty to the club, he'll stay and he'll try his best to keep them up because he loves that club and he loves the fans, and he's done such a wonderful job there. But if I was Brendan Rodgers, I'd maybe be looking to find some sort of mutual agreement to end my contract and saving face, really, because I agree with you, Owen. Like, it wouldn't shock me if Leicester was relegated. Like,
Rodgers will jump ship if he's got the chance. Doesn't matter how much he loves the club. I'm telling you, no. If he gets a chance, he will jump ship, guaranteed.
Sounds like that comes from experience.
Oh, it does come from experience. No matter how crucial the next game or anything coming up, if he gets an opportunity somewhere else, he will jump ship.
It's true, to be fair, when he was linked to United, he was thinking about it as well.
Mhm.
well, look, the only thing is the stock is probably a wee bit damaged now after
Yeah.
the season. You
Yeah.
know, maybe people are going to look at him a wee bit less. But anyway, moving on then to we all hate Leeds scum in 15th. Again, just not great, really. Jesse Marsh, not I don't really know what to say about Leeds, to be honest. I feel like everything we have just attributed to Leicester, you could probably just attribute to Leeds as well, because they're not playing good football. They don't really have that many good players. They've signed a couple of people in the summer here, but is it really going to change their fortunes all that much? I don't know. To me personally, it's a managerial issue. I think Jesse Marsh is a terrible manager. Terrible manager. I think it's a massive downgrade to go from Bielsa to Jesse Marsh, and again, Leeds are one of those clubs that if they stay up, they're going to stay up by the skin of their teeth, and if they don't, they probably deservedly go down. What do you think, Owen?
I agree with the Bielsa and Jesse Marsh statement to a degree. Obviously, Marcelo Bielsa is a world-renowned football manager, and he was fantastic, but his style of football did not suit Leeds United in the Premier League. It suited them in the Championship, didn't suit them in the Premier League. And I think Jesse Marsh's style of football is more suited to the players that Leeds have. If it was a high pressing team with loads and loads of boys who could run for 90 minutes and there were quality on the back and quality up front, Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds would have succeeded in the Premier League. But look, they have got a couple of good players. I think that young fella Nanto's going to be fantastic in years to come and all as well.
Look, him, Somerville, they are definitely decent talents.
Yeah, young talent. And then they've obviously still got the pull with signing Weston McKennie now in January. Another player who's going to fit into Jesse Marsh's system. Obviously, he knows him from the United States and stuff like that as well. Look, as we've said, there's not much more that can be said about Leeds that we haven't said about another club so far here. A lot of these clubs are in relegation battles. Because there is only a couple of points between, like they might be sitting in 15th, but there is only a couple of points between them and the 17th spot. So it is going to be, it's going at 1 point, Owen, is it?
1 point.
Yeah, so it is going to be tough for all these teams in the next few months,
yeah.
to see who does stay in the Premier League, and it's just going to come down to who wants it more. But
Well,
I think,
do you know what, Owen? I'll keep it simple. Do they stay up in your opinion?
yeah,
They do stay up.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Connor, do they stay up?
Yeah, I think they'll stay up. I think Bamford's going to be a huge addition. He'll be like a new signings for them. So
You think?
he's
Yeah.
back from injury, so I think he'll be huge. Rodrigo's, if he can stay fit too, he's their main man.
Owen?
Yeah, I think they'll stay up. They have good quality footballers in that club. We touched on that with Palace, the atmosphere at Allen Road's really good. The fans really get behind that team, even though they're not necessarily behind Jesse March. But I do think Leeds will stay up. I think they do have the resources to stay up in the Premier League. But the simple fact of the matter is there's 3 points between 14th and 20th. Any of the teams in that bracket
In
could
that bracket,
go down.
Yeah. Well, see, look, do you think they're a better side than Leicester, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'd say player for player they are as well. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a tough one. Don't get me wrong, like I know Leicester have been really, really bad this season, but this is still, the same squad that, like we said, won an FA Cup 2 years ago and
No.
was in consistent Champions League races. Like I don't think Leeds have that kind of experience under their belt yet. I don't know. And then again, like I look at the teams below them, and like I would still say West Ham's a better side than them. I still think Wolves are better. Bournemouth, Everton, Southampton, like I don't know.
I would say West Ham have about 2 weeks to seal their fate, because it's going to be in the next 2 weeks. I would say that David Moyes will know his fate as West Ham manager.
Whether he'll get the chop or not. Well, look,
And if he gets the chop, who do they bring in?
natural progression. Then we'll move to West Ham then in 16th. Look, again, those three sides are all on the same point. Leicester, Leeds, West Ham. Again, there's not much more you could say.
No.
That is going to attribute it. But what has just went wrong at West Ham this season? Why has it been so poor?
They don't have the answers, so there's not a chance that I have the answers. But this West Ham team should be doing a lot better. Like Declan Rice, he mightn't be playing unbelievable this season, but he is still one of the best holding midfielders in the world. Lucas Paqueta, we talked about him yesterday. Obviously, he's not playing as well without Bruno Guimaraes, obviously at Newcastle. But again, a quality footballer. Jared Bowen's playing a bit better now. Mikel Antonio, he scored there last night in the cup win against Derby County. There could be a shift change for West Ham in the next couple of weeks, but I do think the next 2 weeks will be crucial for the club.
Yeah.
Because if they do get rid of David Moyes, they've got rid of David Moyes halfway through a season before, and it didn't work out, but they did manage to stay up. Is that what they need to do again this season? If they think, have they more? And I'm asking you this to you, Richard. Do you think they have more of a chance of staying up under David Moyes or under a different manager?
Suppose it would depend on who the manager is. You
Well,
know,
that's it. Who's available now?
well, like now that Dyche has gone to Everton, like I don't think Dyche would have suited West Ham anyway. To be honest, there's not many managers out there that are available.
Could Frank Lampard make a quick time turn back into the Premier League to his old club?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
A big kick in the teeth for Everton, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'm big kicking the teeth. Like, imagine. No, look, I do rate David Moyes, to be honest. Like, I do think Moyes is a good manager. I can't really explain what's going on at West Ham this season either. I'm going to put a bit of the blame on the players, though, as well.
Oh, 100%.
Definitely some very, very suspect performances this season. You know, like I completely agree with you, Warren. I think Declan Rice on his day is one of the best holding midfielders in world football, but this season has just been absolutely diabolical, and I think he's really hurt his chances of getting a move, to be honest, because he has been nothing short of ass, to be honest. Paqueta, hasn't quite worked. Scamacca hasn't quite worked yet either. Danny Ings, I thought he was going to come in and score them goals, and now he's probably going to be out till April with this knee injury. So it's worrying, to be honest. It is worrying. I sort of hope that it just clicks with Scamacca and he starts just scoring goals left, right and centre.
He's injured at the minute too, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, when he's back, like I just hope he starts scoring goals.
Yeah.
And like Bowen has definitely showed more of the player he was last season. Thankfully, you know, he's back amongst the goals as well. The one thing that just worries me with West Ham is that a lot of their players feel like the same player. Like Bowen's not really that different to Benrahma. Like, they just feel like the same player. Like Paqueta's not really all that different to Fornals. They kind of feel like the same player, like at the minute they do, and Scamacca and Antonio are sort of the same player as well. So they don't really have that much diversity of options to go to. But look, I still think Moyes will turn it around, and like I don't see West Ham finishing 16th. To me, West Ham finish. I don't want to say this. How many games have they
You
played?
want to say 10th?
20th, right? So they played 20.
18 games left.
18 games left. I think West Ham are going to finish 9th.
Ooh.
That's a major turnaround, Connor.
I think it's going to click. I really do think it's going to click.
Under Moyes?
Yeah.
Though they have to stick by
Could be
Moyes
right.
now, I think, because as you were saying, there's no real managers out there that you could just guarantee that they're going to stay up, and I think they will improve in the second part of the season, because even we were listening to that podcast with David Moyes, and he was like, they've brought in these like top class players, and it's just made them worse for some reason. It's just like the hard working players that they had in before that. I think Noble's a big miss too. Like, obviously this leadership in the squad as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of pressure's on Declan Rice now, because he is the captain. He is meant to be the main player. I still think he'll get a big move, but he would need to start improving. And West Ham just need to start scoring goals. They scored 2 against Everton, which was a big win, but they've only got 17 goals this season, which is
Big drop off
brutal.
from
Like,
last season.
yeah, last season they were
Big
so
drop
good,
off.
especially near the end of the season. They were so good.
But I do still think they have that kind of form in them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the players like.
And I do. I think they have the talent to pull something like that off. I do think it is just going to click at some point. The same way it's sort of clicking with Forest at the minute. I think the same has to happen with West Ham. And the thing with West Ham is when you look at these sides in this bottom half of the table, West Ham on paper are so superior to so many of these sides that I just think when it clicks, it's going to click. And they are going to be hard to stop again. So, yeah, it's maybe a bit bold going from 16th to 9th, but I do just feel like they might sneak into that top half of the table, to be honest. Moving on then to 17th with Wolves. Obviously, Julian Lopetegui's come in. He seems to have made a massive difference already in a short time in charge of the club. They've got quite a few bodies in through the door now as well. We'll just look at Lopetegui. I think we'll not worry too much about what happened pre-Lopetegui, because that was sort of out of their control to a certain extent. But where do Wolves go from here on out? Comfortably safe from relegation?
I think Wolves are heading in the right direction. I talked about I couldn't see with Leicester. I can't see them going on a run. I can definitely see Wolves going on a run. I think Wolves' form is trending in the right direction. I think Locatelli's a great manager. I think he's getting good results for them. They're playing nice football. I know, right, they got beat 3-0 by Man City and they lost to United, whatever, but as I was alluded earlier, teams in the relegation zone, their seasons aren't defined by what happens against the top six.
The big boys.
Like, in terms of the beating like the likes of Everton and West Ham, the teams that are around them, those are a lot bigger 3 points than beating, but like drawing for City or something.
Yeah.
Because those are 6-pointers, and I think, look, Wolves are great players. We know how technical and skillful some of these Wolves players can be. The players who've scored goals in the Premier League and can cause teams trouble. Like, I know Adama, he's weird. Like, you always think Adama scores loads of goals, but he doesn't score. But he always seems to score big goals, and he's still a threat to Premier League defenders.
Yeah.
I guarantee there's no Premier League defender, no matter if they're playing for Man City or they're playing for Bournemouth, wants to see Adama Traoré coming on with 20 minutes to go.
No, definitely not.
Because not just the speed, but the strength, he'll just bully you. And look, I think Wolves have the quality. They made some good signings. Sarabia I think is going to be a great signing for them.
Agreed.
We talked about how versatile he is, how he can play anywhere nearly anywhere in the midfield and across the forward line.
Yeah.
So I think Wolves will be all right. They got the new manager in. They've had their bounce and they're maintaining good. They're not just getting results, but they're playing good football, and that means you can sustain results.
Yeah.
If you're scraping 1-0 wins with 11 men behind the ball and you're getting a scrappy 90th minute winner where it bounces off 4 men and hits a person in the crowd and goes in off the crossbar, that's not sustainable. Because Wolves are playing good football, the results to pick up will be sustainable, and I think Wolves will relatively comfortably finish safe. I'm not going to say they're anything mad, like they're going to finish 5th or something, but I think Wolves will probably end up about 12th, 13th in that kind of region where
in that region.
they're kind of, they've been safe for about a month before the end of the season.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Oren, obviously, with Wolves, the only thing they're probably lacking at the minute is just that natural sort of number 9. And look, they spent big money on Cunha. Upon watching him over these last few weeks, I was really excited for this transfer. I thought he was going to come in and set the world alight, but he doesn't really look like a natural number 9. He looks like something in between a 9 and a 10. I don't know if he's going to be the one that's going to kick them on and score a lot of goals. Obviously there is Jimenez on the bench as well, who does have a proven track record of scoring goals in the Premier League, but ever since that horrible injury, he's not really been the same player. Kalajic, I think, is going to be back for the end of April, so you would think maybe for those last few weeks, if they are, let's just say for talk's sake, in a relegation trouble or whatever, he is the type of player, natural number 9, that might come in and score a few goals. But realistically, they're targeting a summer transfer window. Where are the areas that you feel they need to strengthen the most?
Well, they do need an out-and-out goal scorer. Maurice Cunha, I don't understand why they paid 55 million or whatever it was for him, whenever I'm pretty sure he had 3 goals for Atletico Madrid last year.
Yeah.
Like, he's never been a big goal scorer, same as with Jay Felix. I know it's hard to be a goal scorer in Diego Simeone's side, but they need an out-and-out goal scorer. Look, Julian Lopetegui just needs his own team. They need somebody to replace Jay Moutinho. Don't get me wrong, it's still a fabulous footballer, but he's obviously aging. But a lot of what you said about West Ham there now, I could only echo about Wolverhampton Wanderers. I do see Wolves under Lopetegui potentially getting and breaking into that top 10. And getting up there, well up the table. I don't think they have any fear of relegation, to tell you the truth. Like we've been talking about these teams, the likes of Leicester and Forest and stuff, that the next few weeks and in particular are going to be crucial. But I don't think the next few weeks are crucial for Wolves. I think they can just pull out a result against anybody in the league. Molineux's a very, very tough stadium to go to and get a result. And a draw is a massive result for these types of teams at the minute, you know what I mean? As long as they're putting points on the board. But look, we've talked a lot about Pablo Sarabia in our transfer podcasts. I think he could be a really, really crucial player for the second half of the season. Even Mario Lemina, he played well for OGC Nice in France, and anytime he played in the Premier League with the likes of Fulham and Southampton, he done his job. So I think he'll come into that Wolves midfield as well. I don't think they've anything to worry about. And especially under Julian Lopetegui, a world-class manager, they could be a team to look out for in the next few years.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agreed. Okay, lads, I'm just going to move it on then to the relegation places here. So I'm going to come to each of you just to talk about a team. Connor, I'm going to come to you first with 18th place Bournemouth. So Bournemouth currently sitting on 17 points, Everton on 19 points, and Southampton on... Bournemouth on 17, Everton 15, Southampton on 15.
Yeah.
All played the same number of games. So, talk to me through about Bournemouth. Are they definitely down, or is there any sort of chance that they can squeeze out of that situation that they're in?
No, I think they're definitely down. I think under Gary O'Neill, obviously he started with Parker, and he got beat 9-0 to Liverpool, got sacked. And under Gary O'Neill, they done okay at the start. I think they were unbeaten in 6 games. They were playing okay. They're playing a bit more attacking. But I think at the back especially, they're just not good enough. And they've conceded 42 goals this season. And I don't really see that. They haven't got really that many great players, like Premier League proven players. Like Sam Billing was okay at a stage. Kiefer Moore has been okay this season, but I just don't see it with Bournemouth. I think, especially as we've been talking about these other sides, it's crazy to think Wolves, West Ham, like even Everton, Leeds, like they have such better sides than Bournemouth. I know Bournemouth are making a few signings in January, but you know, Tavernier's probably been one of their best players this season, who has been okay, but I just, even with their goal difference, it's just dreadful. So if it even comes down to that, I just can't see them winning many more games. I could be proven wrong. I think they've only scored 1 goal since the World Cup's come back.
Yeah.
So I just can't, I think they're definite relegation team.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Owen, I'm going to do something a wee bit weird here. So obviously that was the 18th position team, but I want you to talk about Southampton in 20th because I want to come to you with Everton. Look, it's a dire situation at Southampton at the minute. We've said it for quite a few weeks now. The signing of young players wasn't what they needed to do. They needed a team that could compete in the Premier League right now. In recent weeks, though, they have sort of picked up a wee bit, picked up a decent bit of form, beat Man City in the Cup. That was a massive result for them.
Yeah.
And Jones is maybe starting to stamp his own style of football on the side now, but is it too little too late at this stage, realistically?
Yeah, I think so. I think for Southampton, the writing's on the wall, really, to be honest with you. Look, at James Ward-Prowse seems to be their only avenue to goal at the minute. He's a great player. He's probably the best free kick taker the world's ever seen. One of them anyway, but if you're relying on your centre mid to get you goals, you're basically playing him as your out-and-out striker at the minute because he's the only person who's scoring goals. You're in big trouble. I don't think they're not great at the back. They're not great going forward. They're not great in midfield. They're not great anywhere. They just seem to have all the hallmarks of a squad that's going to go down with a whimper rather than a bang.
Yeah.
Look, could they turn it around? I just can't see where the turnaround's going to come from. You can they got the big result against Everton, then followed up with getting beat by Villa, which is a game in these sort of situations they need to pick points up.
Yeah.
Home to Villa. Look, it was a great coup for them to beat City in the Cup, and City were woeful that night.
Yeah.
They could have scraped the result against Newcastle. Look, they're going in. There's only 1 goal in it. Who knows what can happen, but I do probably think they'll get beat by Newcastle in the second leg of the semi-final, and then all of a sudden that win for City is pretty all for nothing, kind of papering over cracks.
Yeah.
I just don't see where Southampton's going to get the uptick to stay up, and they're going to need a big uptick. I actually think out of the teams in the bottom 3 at the minute, Bournemouth have the best chance of surviving, and that's just my honest opinion because I think Southampton and Everton are both in shambles.
Right.
See with Southampton as well, their home form is dreadful. They have 6 points at home. So if they could improve that, I think that's the only way they can stay up.
They might stay up.
Yeah. I think they're the only... And the manager as well, but yeah, I'd say with the one they're going to go down. But
Fair enough.
wanna-
No, fair enough, lad. Fair enough. Owen, 19th place Everton. And the reason I wanted to come to you about this, and boys, I want you to jump in here too as well. This is a massive football club.
Yeah.
A team that has never been relegated from the top division.
No.
And for the first time, well, they had a legitimate chance last year, but I always thought they were going to stay up, to be honest. But now, for the first time, really, in my lifetime, there is a legitimate chance that Everton are going to go down. Sean Dyche has come in. Is it enough to rescue Everton? Is he the man that's going to get them organised? and get them enough points to get them over the line.
This is tough. I have a soft spot for Everton. Always did. It started whenever. Do you remember Sabudio? Do you remember the game Sabudio?
You flicked
Where
it.
you
Like,
flicked
I thought it was some Brazilian player I
yeah,
never heard of. Like,
yeah,
that was
player.
I know
Sabudio.
Sabudio. We played with Ronaldinho, lad. He was class.
No, that game was class.
Yeah, whenever I used to play Sabudio with my brother, I didn't know what the clubs were called when I first started playing it, but they had the Chang sponsor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I always thought, I don't know, it just kind of fixated in my head, and I always had a soft spot for Everton, and then some of my family support Everton and stuff as well, so we do have a soft spot for them. But this is a tough situation for them. I think Sean Dyche is an absolutely phenomenal manager. I was so angry and so glad Burnley got relegated after they sacked Sean Dyche,
Yeah.
because it was disgraceful.
It wasn't his fault.
Wasn't
No.
his fault at all.
Not
It
at
was
all.
disgraceful, the treatment they gave that fella, because he done so much for that football
Well,
club, and he loved
Burnley
that
was
football club.
nothing before
when-
Dyche came in for them. Like,
When they got relegated that time, he brought them back up as well,
Yeah.
and he kept them in the Premier League. And
Exactly.
he never got a chance. I think it was like halfway through the season. It was
And limited
disgraceful.
funding and everything, and he kept that team in the Premier League for a few years. So I thought it was disgraceful. So I'm glad he's back, and he's back with a huge club. Look, this is going to be tough. This is going to be very, very tough. Because is it enough for Sean Dyche to do what he's done in the past with these players? He hasn't a great, these aren't great players that Everton's got. For the club of Everton's stature, this is not a great 11. And I think that's the only thing that's going to hinder Everton, because Sean Dyche is a great manager, and I think he could do anything with a decent group of players that he's worked with for a while. But they made the decision so late to get rid of Frank Lampard. They should have made that decision to get rid of Lampard at the start of this January window.
and give Dyche
Yeah.
a chance.
Give
Yeah.
Dyche a chance.
Yeah.
Give him a
Yeah.
couple of signings that he can implement into his own squad and play his style of football, because we all know what Sean Dyche is going to play. He's going to play the long ball, the big man.
4-4 fucking 2.
Exactly.
And lump it.
But it worked for him. It's worked for him so many times.
Yeah.
But this may be a step too far. They have a very, very tough 2 fixtures coming up. They play Arsenal now, and then they play the Merseyside derby against Liverpool.
But it won't shock me if they turn one of them over.
So it's a good time probably to get sacked, because the new manager, the atmosphere
However-
could be a bit better.
Imagine what happens if he comes in and wins the Merseyside derby, lad.
Even
Of
gets a draw
course.
against Arsenal or something.
You know.
It'll just
Don't get me wrong, that would bring the boom back to Everton, and it would. I don't think Everton's going to get relegated. That's my personal opinion.
Neither do I.
neither
I
do
don't think they're going to get relegated, but I think they have. See the 4 fixtures after that Liverpool and Arsenal, after the Arsenal game and then the Liverpool game.
They need to pick points up.
That's the make or break
Yeah,
for
agreed.
Everton's season. They have Leeds away, they have Aston Villa, they have Forest, and they have Brentford. 4 fixtures, look out there. Because then after that they play Chelsea and Tottenham and City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they need the 4 fixtures there in between them Goliaths of the Premier League, where they need to bring in the points. Even if that's, say, 7 points from them 4 games, that's going to be massive.
7
Yeah.
points out
So
of them
tight
4
down
games
there.
would
Yeah.
be
Would be brilliant.
huge for
Brilliant.
them.
Absolutely
with
brilliant.
Dyche as well, like they probably should have had him in earlier as well. I agree with that, because they played a lot of teams around them. They lost to
Yeah.
like Wolves, West Ham. These
Yeah.
are all like relegation fellow strugglers. Like
Yeah.
these were big games, but I think he will be huge. I think defensively they've been okay, but they make so many errors, and with him coming in there, I think that could be a huge saving point. It's just going to be goals as well. Calvert-Lewin needs to come back and start scoring goals, or Mopé or somebody. And I think with Sean Dyche in there, with that organisation, I think they will stay in the Premier League as well.
Like, we're recording this on deadline day. Sean Dyche was only fully appointed yesterday. And 2 days ago they sold Anthony Gordon for 45 million.
Something could happen here.
I seen they were linked
Let's
to
hope
Connor
they get
Gallagher.
something.
Apparently,
Linked
they're
with
trying
Conor
to get him.
Gallagher for 40 million, but I've seen just since we've been recording this podcast that David
happening.
Ornstein says he's staying at Chelsea. I've also seen that they've put in a loan request to get Richarlison back until the end of the season. Can't see that happening. The Spurs need the attacking reinforcements.
That's not
Can't see
gonna
it
happen.
happening.
Not gonna happen.
But it shows the ambitions there already. If he's making these sorts of ambitious attempts, look,
They need
he
a
wasn't
striker.
going to get anywhere near it.
Striker
But
is
they,
huge.
they need a
They need a
big
striker.
goal scorer, to
Yeah,
tell you the truth. They
they
need
do.
a big tall striker to
So
work
hard
out.
to find as well, especially
Exactly.
with so little time.
But you see, if Wout Weghorst hadn't signed for Manchester United, it wouldn't have surprised me in the slightest if Wout Weghorst had signed for Everton.
Oh yeah, Dyche got him in, didn't he?
If they should have got him in again. Look, I don't think Everton's going to get relegated, but I do think them 4 games could change my mind. If they lose 2 of their games and draw 1 of them, if they don't get at least 7 points from them 4 games, they're down,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate.
See, I think they pulled the trigger far too late in Lampard.
100%.
As Connor alluded to, out of the last 5 games, they got a point in one of them. That was against City, which is a bit mad that the only game they got a point in was City.
Yeah.
But they've lost to Wolves, Southampton, and West Ham in the last 5 games. Those are massive results. Those are 6-pointers. If you're giving the teams around you those head starts, it just makes the job so much harder for Dyche.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And look, it's just, I think Everton, kind of people are saying, oh, Everton will be okay because they're Everton. But we've seen in the past, just because you have a name doesn't mean you're staying up. And Dyche has no time to make transfers. They need goals. If you're Ren on Neil Mopay, if you're waiting for him to score your goals, you're waiting a long bloody time because he's shite. Calvert-Lewin, he had a good start to the season a couple of years ago. He's on the injury table more than he's on the pitch. Everton squad is just woeful. Anthony Gordon, their only kind of half bright spark, he's away.
It's a tinderbox at Everton at the minute, unfortunately. Obviously, there is a lot of this protest with the directors, with the board, and with the owners themselves. Or this could end really badly, couldn't it? In all seriousness, you know, the situation's very volatile at Everton at the minute. Like, we're seeing players getting confronted outside the stadium. There's now, of course, it all turned out to be false, but there's still a real threat of violence towards the board and towards the owner of the football club. Yeah. It's a tinderbox that's waiting to be for a match to set it alight at the minute. And if Everton were to be relegated,
It's crazy because they're one of the biggest clubs. They're stalwart in Premier League history, and next season they're going to be moving into one of the biggest grounds in Premier League history.
Might be in the Championship history, the way things are going.
Exactly. Like, Everton's fan base is huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. Like, we lived in Liverpool last year.
I couldn't get over it.
You couldn't walk down the street without seeing an Everton shirt, and you were thinking it was going to be all Liverpool.
All Reds, but it wasn't. It was mainly blue.
But even over here, the amount of people over here who support Everton would surprise you. Like, like, you know, everybody knows somebody who supports Everton more than they know somebody who's even knows somebody who supports Tottenham or something. Like, Everton's a massive club.
Really is, and do you know what? It'll be an upsetting day if they do go down. It really will. Not even just for Everton fans, but for the neutral football fan, it'll be a very upsetting day.
Well, I remember, obviously Minty, a good friend of ours, and an avid listener of the podcast, a massive Everton fan, the biggest Everton fan I know, him and his dad. And I do you know something? A moment that genuinely, and I'm sure he'd be happy enough for me to share this, like, but a moment that genuinely made me happy as a football fan, somebody who loves football. He sent me a photo on Snapchat of him crying, and it was after Everton had beaten Liverpool at Anfield, and that's the first time Everton had beaten Anfield in his lifetime. He was 23 years of age, and that was the first time that Everton had beat Liverpool at Anfield. To me, that was like, wow, that's real. That's real passion. That's real support for your football club, and I have a soft spot for Everton because of Mincy, and I would be gutted to see them go down. And again, I look at Everton's squad. I do think there's worse squads in that sort of bracket of Premier League teams there. I do think there's worse squads. I think Leeds are worse than Everton. Bournemouth are definitely worse than Everton. Southampton's definitely worse than Everton. Man to man, I do think Forest are worse than Everton. But they really need to get their shit together, and they need to start winning games fast.
If they do win that Anfield, that Merseyside derby in 2 weeks' time,
That could be a massive turning point for them. Look,
even just for the confidence of the
Yeah.
club.
I'd hate to see Everton going down, but just realistically thinking, I can't see them staying up. Look, this was a squad that survived by the skin of their teeth last year, and they haven't just not improved in the summer. They've got worse.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and that's the concern with Everton now. Is they barely survived last year, and they proceeded to combat that by getting worse.
Well, here's hoping in the last few hours of the window, maybe they get some sort of striker situation sorted. Maybe they bring a couple of players in. So here's hoping. All right, lads, I want your predictions then for the rest of the season. This is the first time we're doing this, so we're going to be doing our mid-season predictions. So I'm going to just go round the table, and I'm going to ask you who you think is going to do this or who's going to do that. So I'll start with the winners of the Premier League first. Owen, who's going to win the Premier League this year?
Look, I'm an optimist. And I am an optimist. And we've been talking about it, and I've been saying Manchester United's going to win the Premier League. They're not going to win the Premier League. I think Manchester City's going to win the Premier League.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, you're going to take City?
I am.
Okay.
I just think City. I think City could well go on to a run of form where they don't lose another Premier League game.
Okay. Connor?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Arsenal. I think they've been playing unbelievable football, and I think they're going to beat City. I think it's in a few weeks' time at home, and I think they're just going to. They're so confident at the minute, and I just can't see them being stopped. I'm going to go Arsenal.
Owen?
I'm also going to go Arsenal, and the reason I'm going to go Arsenal is because of the result against Manchester United is what made me think that this team is a serious team about winning titles. Arsenal teams in the past would have drew that game 2-2 or probably would have lost it 3-2 themselves for a stupid mistake, giving United a go, but not just by beating United. The performance over at the time, still are a title rival, showed me that Arsenal could win this Premier League, and I think Arsenal will go on to win the league.
Yeah, I'm going to take Arsenal as well. I just think at this stage of the season, I don't think there's anybody better than them, to be honest. And like you say, Connor, they are so confident and they really believe in that style of football that they play. So I'm going to stick with Arsenal.
Their home form is unbelievable. I don't think they'll lose at home this year, to be honest. So
crazy.
It's going to be good.
Crazy. Oren, the remainder of your top four then. So you've gone Manchester City. So who finishes inside the top four?
Arsenal second, Man United third, and Newcastle fourth.
Okay. Connor, your top four?
Go Arsenal, City, Man City, Manchester United, and then I'm gonna go for Tottenham. I think they'll sneak in over Newcastle. I think we've said about this before. Just a run of form. Newcastle are in too many draws, and I think Tottenham will improve in the second half of the season. I know it could definitely blow up in my face if Conte leaves or something, but I think they do have a good chance, and I think they're only 3 points behind. I know Newcastle have a game in hand, but they have a good chance. I think Tottenham will get in there.
Fair enough. Owen, top four?
Yeah, I'm going to go City, Newcastle, and Tottenham. No, I'm joking. I just want to see the faces. No, City, United, Newcastle is my top four.
Fair enough. I am going to go City. I'm going to go Man United second, City third, and Spurs fourth. I think United's going to finish ahead of City this season, you know. City have just got worse after this transfer window, so I think United's better than City, to be honest. European places then, Oren, who's finishing in those Europa League and Conference League places, so that is 5th, 6th and 7th.
Spurs, definitely, are going to get European football.
So you're saying Spurs 5th?
Yeah, I'd say Spurs 5th. Brighton 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be between Liverpool and Chelsea to finish 7th. I'm going to say Liverpool.
So Spurs.
No, do you know what? I'm going to say Chelsea. Fuck Liverpool.
Going to say Chelsea. So Spurs 5th, Brighton 6th, and Chelsea.
Who am I missing out?
7th.
What is 5th, 6th, and 7th?
5th, 6th, and 7th at the minute is Spurs, Brighton, and Fulham.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go Chelsea. To finish 7th.
Connor, European places?
So 5th, Newcastle. You know I love an underdog, boys, but I'm gonna go
Some chance.
In 6th, I'm gonna go Liverpool. I think they're gonna get players back. I know they're dreadful in midfield, but they're gonna get players like Diaz back and Yata, players like that, and they're gonna come 6th, and then 7th. See, Chelsea have made so many signings, but it is gonna be difficult for them. I'm gonna go Brighton. They're just playing such good football, and then I think they'll just about get over Chelsea. I think Chelsea will take time to get the players in, and you don't know what'll happen with Potter if he goes through a bad phase. Results, he could be sacked, so I'll go Brighton 7th.
Owen, European places?
I'm going to go Brighton 5th,
Mm-hmm.
Tottenham 6th, and 7th will be Liverpool.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I am going to go Newcastle in 5th. I'm going to have Brighton in 6th. And I am going to have Brentford in 7th. I think Brentford's going to get European football. All right, then I want your relegation, your 3 to get relegated. Don't need them in order, just the 3 teams that are going to be relegated.
Bournemouth, Southampton, and even though it bigged up Leicester a wee bit, then it really will depend on James Madison's form. Probably Leicester.
Okay, Connor.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Southampton, Bournemouth, and I'll go Nottingham Forest. I think they've had a good run of results, but I think I could just
dip down.
So I'm just gonna go Forest.
Fair enough. Owen.
I'm going to go Southampton, Leicester, and Everton.
Southampton, Leicester, Everton. Okay. I am going to go for Southampton, Bournemouth, and Leeds. Young player of the year.
Bukayo Saka.
Easy choice, really.
Easy
isn't it?
choice. One of the best wingers in world football. Easy.
Connor.
Yeah, Saka. He's been
Monumental.
for Arsenal. Goals, assists, just creates so much, and can just go with any player he wants.
Yeah.
Just such a good player.
Yeah, it has to be
Has to be
Saka.
Saka,
I
yeah.
was trying to think of somebody else to be different, but was like, no, it's got to be Saka.
Yeah, look, I think Saka, it sort of has to be as well. I do think there are a few honourable mentions in there, though. I think Saliba's been absolutely excellent
Yeah.
this season as well.
Even your boy Ferguson from Brighton.
Yeah.
I know he hasn't played as many games,
but
but
if he has a good 6 months here, you know, he could be in with a shout.
Might have been robbed by those 6 months, but
yeah.
won't get into that.
Exactly.
Martinelli's been good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dipped a bit maybe, but he's been a good player as well.
But has definitely at least looked like a good player. Player of the year then, Owen. So you went for Man City winning the title.
Yeah, Erling Haaland.
You're gonna go Haaland.
Yeah. Most goals in Premier League history he'll score. So, yeah, it has to be Erling Haaland.
Definitely, I'd agree. Even though Arsenal win the league, I think Haaland will get it just over Odegaard. I think he could score 40 goals if he stays fit, at least.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Haaland. Yeah.
I'm going to go Saka to do the double.
Oh really?
Player of the year and young player of the year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I went for Arsenal to win, so I'm gonna go Odegaard. I think Odegaard's just been on a different level this season. I think he is by far. Well, this season at least, he has been by far the most creative midfielder within the league, and I think that's what every top side that wants to dominate the ball needs now is a creator,
Yeah.
and an elite level creator. And I you can't look past
All the top teams have it. Like.
exactly. You can't
Look
look
at the top
past a
teams
player
top
like
of the league.
that.
Yeah.
You know, and manager of the year then, Warren.
Eddie Howe. I think it would have been easy to go for Mikel Arteta. Well, I don't think Arsenal's going to win the league, but it would have been easy to go for whoever won the league, so it would have been easy to go for Pep Guardiola. But Eddie Howe, I think he's going to get Champions League football, and he's just done a phenomenal job with Newcastle.
Fair enough. Connor.
Yeah, I'm going to go Arteta because he's going to win the league, but Howe's a good shout because even if he gets Europa League football, that's some achievement for Newcastle this season. So, but I think Arteta because what he's done for Arsenal, I didn't even think they'd get top 4 this year, Champions League football. So to win the league is just crazy.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go Arteta as well. Even if Arsenal don't win the league, I still think Mikel Arteta has been the best manager. Concerning like most pundits at Arsenal outside the top 4, and a long way outside the top 4. So even if he doesn't take it home, I still think Arteta has been the best manager in the Premier League this season.
Fair enough. I'm going to go Jurgen Klopp. Not for taking Liverpool all the way up to 9th. Wow, just what a team, what a manager, what a group of players. World class, every single one of them. Absolutely crazy good, crazy set of fans. Wow, what a team. No, obviously not.
Wait, that was sarcastic.
Yeah, look, I think it has to be Arteta. I think if Arteta wins the league with Arsenal, it's just such a massive achievement from where they were the previous season before to where they are now. Comfortably going to make the Champions League. Should see out the league from here if they can get a positive result against City in at least one of the games. They're in the driver's seat, and he has revolutionised the way they play football. Great recruitment, and I'm going to go Mikel Arteta. So, on to the guest player section then, Oren.
Mid-season team this season, no? I will leave that.
Maybe leave that.
Okay.
Save that for the TikTok, that one.
Okay. Moving on to guess the player. Obviously, we've got McArdle back today. The boys didn't do so well yesterday with the guess the player. Only one correct answer, 2 forfeits. It was a bit difficult. I put the questions to Owen earlier as well, and he was very much the same. He got none of them right. So hopefully you are doing better at home than the lads are doing here in the studio. These ones are a bit more easy. Because of the demand of the fellas in the room, not because of the ones at home.
Who am I? I wore number 7 for Portugal for the last 20 years.
Okay, so number 1. And people at home, let me know how you get on. So the current scores is 2 for Conor Dorman, 2 for Conor Richards, and 0 for Mr. Owen McArdle. Number 1. I am a World Cup winner. I was named in the UEFA Team of the Year in 2003, 2004, 2006, 2016, and 2017. I have made 961 appearances in my club career.
Gianluigi Buffon.
Gianluigi Buffon. What a shout that is, straight away. I'm going to give the rest of the clues, but it's 3-2-0 now. Mr. Connor Richards taking the lead. So it was still playing professional football in my native country. I played with Edgar Davids, Ciro Immobile, Mario Lemina and Juan Bernat. My career started at the club that I'm playing at now. I've had 2 spells at my most successful club where I won 10 league titles, and that included a move to France in the middle of my career. So yes, Gianluigi Buffon. Well done, Connor Richards. Okay, number 2. I am a striker with 367 club goals and 73 assists in 629 appearances. I won the Copa America with my country in 2011. I have played alongside Thiago Silva, Dani Alves, Gabriel Paulista and Alex Telles.
I know that too.
Addison Cavani.
Edinson Cavani. Is that who you were going to say, Dorman?
Yeah.
Well, it's 4-2-0 now. Connor Richards coming in with the 2 quick fires. The last 2 clues in that one would have been I've won 21 trophies during a 7-year spell at one of the biggest clubs in recent football history before making a transfer in 2020. And I became a cult hero at Manchester United where I broke the number 7 curse according to the fans. Okay, number 3. The final one of Guess the Player for this episode. I am a World Cup and Champions League winner, among multiple other honours. I have played alongside Glenn Kamara, Mark Guay, Patrice Evra, and Divock Origi. I have scored 247 goals for clubs in Italy, England and France, including 4 goals in this year's Champions League. Any takers?
No.
I have accumulated £34 million in transfer fees, including a controversial £17 million transfer to my Premier League club's crosstown rivals. Connor Richards.
Olivier Giroud.
Olivier Giroud, a hat-trick for Mr. Richards today. 3 in a row. Dorman falling behind. Now 5-2 down.
Yeah.
He's still going to talk about the Bulger incidents in episode 1. McCardle yet to get off the mark. The final...
Your fucking favourite player too.
I know your favourite player. The final clue would have gave it away for everybody. It would be the all-time top goal scorer for my country.
Why did he play for Glenn Kamara?
Glenn Kamara. He played with Glenn Kamara at... Was it Montpellier? Which club was... No, Arsenal. Played with Glenn Kamara at Arsenal.
The minute you said crosstown rival, I was like, yeah, that's true.
Because as soon as you said Glenn Kamara, I was like, as soon as first thing I thought, yeah, there's nobody who ever played for Rangers who won a World Cup recently. That's all I could think of.
No, Glenn Kamara, he played with at Arsenal. Obviously, he was in the youth setup and broke into the first team at
That's
Arsenal. And then he played with Mark Way at Chelsea.
Yeah, very good. I'm the go.
So Connor's in to first place. The scoreboard is now 5-2-0. Boys, you just need to pick it up in the next few weeks.
The only way I can come back is if I can go on your computer and look at the search history.
There's plenty of opportunity. It's going to be 3 every week. We had a lucky 6 this week, so let's see.
Let's see how it gets on.
Plenty more to come before the end of this season.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed our mid-season review. Yeah, we really just tried to break down the teams and give as much in-depth analysis into those teams as we possibly could. So, like I said, we hope you enjoyed that content. Please give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. That is Twitter, Instagram, and our newly created TikTok account as well. It's at Bottom Bins Pod for all of them there. And yeah, look, we just hope you've been enjoying the content. Jump on, find us on the Parlay Sports app. PRLY Sports on the Apple App Store. Get that downloaded. Get having a few football conversations with us. And as always, keep it bottom bins.
Keep it bottom bins.
Keep it bottom bins.